Editorial cartoonists have also taken the opportunity of paying tribute to Winnie Mandela. We have the star, which Victor has drawn this for, of course, the late Winnie Mandela. Winnie Mandela is finally free. Of course, we can see her. She's tripped up the stairs to the exit door and she's waving goodbye. That is from the star, page 2. Also, we do have one from Gado, and this is in the Standard today. Winnie Mandela, or Winnie Madikizela-Mandela, 1936-2018, of course waving that Viva, hand, a luta continua, and this is what Gado has captured in the Standard today, and we also do have Stano in the Star as well, right? We can see her also with the golden sunset, waving, of course, with that particular arm of Viva hand. And the Africa continent salutes her as well. So we want to look at the legacy of Winnie Mandela just briefly from our panelists this morning to tell us what are their thoughts, and of course wishing them also, all the family, our deepest sympathy and sincere condolences here from AM Live with our security panelists. Let's just begin with you, Peter Biarajak, to tell us more about Winnie Mandela. When you think about her, and of course fighting for freedom, apartheid, and she was a stalwart of, making sure that human rights, they're observed, and she advocated for, observation of human rights in South Africa in light of what we know apartheid did in South Africa. And of course, even being a good partner and an encouraging partner to Nelson Mandela as well, through the years that she was, Mandela was detained, she was always there for Mandela.
Absolutely, absolutely, Debarl. Let me start by saying my sincere condolences to the family and to the people of South Africa. Indeed, I agree with Julius Malema on this issue, that she has earned the right to be the mother of the nation of South Africa. She is one of the icons of the liberation struggle of South Africa, and she deserves to be respected and to be praised for everything that she has done. She stood alongside Mandela for the 27 years that he was in prison. She maintained her fidelity to Mandela. It's quite actually sad in the end what happened with the story and how she was shortchanged in all of this. But she maintained her principles and focused on maintaining the legacy that she has built over the years. So it's a sad news to learn of her passing, but it's also a reminder about, in the end, what is life really all about. It's about legacy and what you leave behind. And she's leaving behind an amazing legacy that has been tested, a legacy that will continue to inspire generation and generation of South Africa. And for me, coming from South Sudan, and also being aware of women of similar caliber that led the struggle alongside men in our liberation, we are grateful to the inspiration that we have consistently received from the people of South Africa. And we wish them the very best. They're going through a very difficult time, economically and politically and environmentally as well. But we believe that the stories of icons like Winnie Mandela will continue to inspire them and keep them focused on the idea of building the more perfect rainbow nation.
Thank you. Right. Let's hear from Nomi Damba.
Debarl Inea, I joined with Peter in terms of what he was saying. The questions that linger. One is, if Nelson Mandela did not come out of jail, what will be Winnie Mandela today remembered for? And we tend to focus literally on the negative. But like Peter said, this is a lady who stood tall through the test of time for years. And today our condolence goes to her family, and not only to the people of Africa, people of South Africa, but Africa as a whole, particularly for young, aspiring women leaders of this continent. This lady committed her life for the cause until the end.
Dr. Mustafa, briefly.
Yeah, Debarl Winnie Mandela remains an iconic figure. Now, not just for South Africans, but for the rest of Africa. Her role in fighting for the disbandment of apartheid and to move South Africa towards independence is something that was admired by many beyond South Africa. Her famous speech is saying that you do not reform a sin, meaning apartheid was a sin, when there was talk that there should be a power sharing between the white or Africans and ANC really captured the imaginations of many. And for her, it was to disband the apartheid regime in totality and to start afresh for the millions of black South Africans.
All right, Dr. Kanenje.
About my thoughts and prayers go to the Winnie Madikizela-Mandela's family. Winnie Mandela is a story of courage, of valor, of persistence, and of beautiful and unapologetic stubbornness, especially in the face of apartheid. And more often, and especially led largely by the Western media, has always tried to bring out areas in which they thought she fell short. For instance, the necklacing, from 1986, and some alleged corruption scandals, in the early 1990s and stuff like that. But Malema captured it beautifully, actually, that even after Mandela was released, the ANC was afraid of a woman in the name of Madikizela-Mandela. And the predominantly white National Party was afraid of a black woman, as it is in most parts of the world. And it is said that she never really got a chance to at least be able to be a leader of substance in South Africa post-apartheid. And more often than not, she was sidelined. Now, someone may argue that perhaps she was too radical. The truth is, the conditions of majority Africans in South Africa today is still dire. Is in a place where it shouldn't be. And that perhaps explains why people like Malema are actually very popular. And unless some of the philosophies and some of the stubbornness and the ideas she actually had are implemented to a certain degree, we are looking at a potentially explosive South Africa in the years to come. Now, we're hoping the current president takes note of that and realizes that there's still a lot to be done in Soweto. There's still a lot to be done with majority, black South Africans who are still not sufficiently economically empowered. They are not, because of many years of apartheid, sufficiently educated. In fact, part of the trouble South Africans have with their fellow Africans, actually, is because most of them did not have the jobs, in part because they were not qualified to do them. And so when they see these other Africans come and take jobs, they think, why are you taking our jobs when we're the ones who actually suffered for it? And so there's still something to be done about it, and I think her legacy, she's going to go down in the annals of history as one of the greatest African women who ever lived.
Right, Dr. Burunga.
I think briefly, one is we empathize and sympathize.
In your lifetime, you never met Winnie Mandela?
I've never met her, but I've read about her since I was young. We empathize, sympathize with the family and the South African people. But I think even as a continent, we recognize what Winnie Mandela did in terms of gender. She came out as one of the few African women who could withstand anything for what she believed in. So to many that came after her, I think she was like the pointer, and she played that role very well. That even in Africa, where we have traditional issues of male dominance and neglect for the women, she came out, she showed Africa that it can be done, and she's passed on with that legacy. I think I'll only finish with this. Winnie Mandela was the epitome of resilience. If you really wanted to know what is resilience, that is what that lady was. She went through difficulties when the husband was in jail. She was harassed left, center, right. After the husband came back, before the husband was released, she underwent through personal difficulties in what people are talking about her. But at the end of the day, she was resilient. I think she never moved her eyeball from what she wanted to do. And if we have to study issues of resilience, I think she comes out very clearly. And I think, to me, that is the legacy she leaves behind.
Thank you very much.
Resilience and determination.
Resilience and determination,
yeah.
Of course. Of course, we know inch by inch life becomes a cinch, and of course, yard by yard, life is difficult. He made his mark in a small way, but of course, that also has cascaded to what America is today when it comes to also voting for women, civil rights movements as well. But of course, we want to also hear from our panelists. Looking at the current situation in America right now with Black Lives Matter, are we seeing a retrogressing of course, the social justice in America? Let's begin with you, Dr. Biara Jack.
Well, first of all, Debarl, the death of Martin Luther King Jr. Was one of the moments that shocked America, and it shocked the core of American society. But we all remember what he said, the dream that he had, and how elements of it was fulfilled with Obama coming into power in 2008. Martin Luther King was someone that was working for everybody. It was no longer issues of civil rights alone. He was concerned about the war in Vietnam. He was concerned about the working conditions in the factories. He was concerned about the wages. He was concerned about the rights of workers to organize. And he champions all of these ideals towards social justice. So it's someone that needs to be remembered. If you look today, what is American society is going through, one can probably argue that maybe that dream that Dr. King had in mind is yet to be realized. You see the stories of black men, black children being shot unarmed, like the recent case in California, where someone was shot while carrying a phone that the police thought was a gun. And is particularly heightened by the current chief executive in the White House, President Donald Trump, who seems to appeal more to the instincts of race and the instinct of division that are still existing within American fault lines. But Dr. King and people like him that made the sacrifice, I'm sure they are inspiration to many people, like the people that are leading the Black Lives Matter, the recent March for Our Lives being led by young people, high school students in most cases, the women's movement that is emerging. All of these have roots in civil rights movement, and it's something that we have to remember, that the legacy of Dr. King is something that continues to inspire us all over the world, and certainly within American society, for Americans to continue to work, as Obama put it in his 2008 address, toward a more perfect union.
Right. Very briefly, Dr. Mustafa, very briefly.
Yeah, Debarl, here was a fearless civil rights activist who perfected the art of nonviolence. And that's really what gave Dr. Martin Luther King his mark, that it was possible through nonviolence to actually initiate change and to bring about change and to fight horrendous and discriminatory actions perpetrated on the blacks in the United States of America. And this is the way that we should actually be mobilizing and engaging. If anything does not really augur well with humanity, we should always go the non-violent way to try and address it. Otherwise, the most powerful will always resort to arms, and you cannot compete or fight with through arms with a person who has superior armory. The rights of the blacks in the United States of America is still very far from being achieved. We see increasing alienation, marginalization, exclusion of the blacks in the United States of America, and perhaps another Martin Luther King is required today in the United States of America.
Right, Dr. Kanenje.
On January 3rd, 2008, at the time when, as a country, we were embroiled in our own difficulties, Obama won the Iowa caucus, and part of his speech he said, "We're choosing hope over fear and unity over division, and sending a powerful message that change is coming to America." I think if that speech were to be given today, especially in Trump's America, will be we're choosing fear over hope and division over unity and sending a message that change will never come to America. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because of the betrayal of the ideals and what Martin Luther King fought for, a testament of the success and resilience of nonviolence. However, America today is the only democracy where actually black people still, their voting rights have to be renewed. Black people comprise about 12 to 13% of the population of the United States, and yet about approximately half or more of all those people who are incarcerated are actually African Americans. So there is still a long way to go. Of course, there are certain things that have moved along. Even with the election of Barack Obama, it does not mean that then finally the dream of little black kids and little brown, white kids working together and sitting together on the table of brotherhood has been realized. But the change that actually even just the election of Obama inspired, not just among the blacks, but among the nativists, because there was a lot more divide under Obama, actually, between races in the United States than even before that. And so they gave fodder to racists, nativists, and all other, brought back all the history and all the bad memories actually of the 60s. And today in America, we are not in a very good place right now. We need another, perhaps, Martin Luther King.
We need another one. Yeah. All right, let's hear from Dr. Berunga briefly.
Yes, I don't know what to say. A lot has been said. Martin Luther King played his role in the liberation of the blacks in America. But I think, like Dr. Hanyanja said, even with the election of Barack Obama, to some they thought that was the realization of the dream. At least now a black person has been elected in the White House and things will change. But I remember a speech that Barack Obama gave, I can remember when he was extolling black American men to take charge of their families. So I think as much as Martin Luther King played his role, there was also this element and understanding and fear that the American black families were not cohesive. There was too much separation, too much violence in the families, and you cannot have divided families that can actually march forward and achieve most of the things that Martin Luther King did. So there was also a social problem in terms of how do we then realize what Martin Luther King was fighting for. And to me, even with the emergence of the ultra-right during Donald Trump's presidency, I think there's still much to be done in terms of socializing the black Americans to see what they need to do in terms of uplifting themselves and the families.
Right, briefly, Nomidama, before we take a short break.
But Debarl, I live in the United States for a long time, and I dealt with African American for a long time. Here's the thing, and I spend a lot of time reading about the life of Martin Luther King. He said one thing, life is meaningless if you do not have anything to live for and die for. And he left, he lived a short time and died, in my opinion, the life that he really believed in. The southern part of the United States, Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, New Orleans, was the core racist belt. And when you look at the northern part and the southern part is actually have done better because they're much more practical and more realistic about the expectation. The North was sort of living in this wonderland where there were no racists and all that kind of stuff. And so when Obama came on the scene and evoked, where Martin Luther King left over, yes, we can, the Northerners were having a lot of problem because all of a sudden you're black and you are white.
Thank you.
And you live among us. So America is still divided. There is still a lot of work to be done.